Today I'm going to be working on transplanting my tomato plants into bigger pots and transplanting some of them outside. And I'm going to show you what I'm doing and some of the signs that some of my plants need more nutrition. The first thing I'm going to be doing is transplanting these cherry tomato plants into pots. So I'm actually not going to plant these in the ground. I'm going to plant them in pots and put them right by our front door. Now our compost bin is set up so that the bottom there is a wire mesh screen and then all the soil falls through the bottom. So I'm actually going to just pull the soil out from between these cinder blocks, and then I'm going to go ahead and put them in. I'm going to fill this up about halfway with the compost, and then I have some miscellaneous soil and potting soil in here that was left over from other plantings, and I'm going to mix that in. Here's my plant. What I want to do is I want to dig a hole that's a little bit bigger than what this container is. When you're getting your plant out of the container, what you want to do is you're going to pinch the plant at the top here, and then you want to loosen the soil around it. This plant probably has its roots right at the bottom of the container, so you can see that. And so you want to pinch that to get it out. You might want to loosen up this a little bit, not too much. Some plants really do not like their roots to be disturbed, so you have to be careful about that. And then you're just going to push the soil around the plant. And then I like to press it firmly down around it. So this plant is a Sweet Million variety, so I'm actually going to put this in here. And then this other one is called Little Bing variety. So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to dig a hole about the size of the container that the plant is in. You could always test it by putting the plant inside of the hole to see how deep that's going to be for it. Now this is going to be pretty good for this plant. So once again, what you want to do, say hello, this is our feral cat that just hangs on the porch. Her name's Kit Kat. Now what you're going to do is you're going to pinch the plant at the base. You're going to loosen it up by squeezing the container. That allows the roots to come out nice and easy. And then just plop it in there and put the soil around here. Once again, I'm going to press it down a little bit here. And then you definitely want to make sure that you give your plants a nice water. And the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put a tomato cage around them. And there you have it. These plants are done. Now I'm going to show you my tomato seedlings and what I'm seeing in them that shows me that they have a nutritional deficiency. I planted these as seeds probably at the beginning of March, and the plants never were doing very well. And so the only thing that I changed from last year to this year is that I planted them in what's called coconut coir. Now that's the only thing that I have changed in my whole process, and so I'm going to be transplanting these back into regular seed starting soil and see how they do. And I'm also going to give them some more nutrition. I can tell that my plants have a nutritional deficiency by looking at the color on the underside of the leaf. So if I'm looking at the plants that I grew, I started these from seed, I can see that there is a deep purple color underneath the leaves, and this should not be happening. Your leaves should be bright green and vibrant. Also, I planted these at the beginning of March. These should be much larger than they are now. So that tells me that something is wrong. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be transplanting back into regular seed starter soil, and I'm also going to give them a little bit of fertilizer. Now, I don't want to give them too much fertilizer because that's also bad for plants. So I'm just going to give them a little tiny sprinkle. What I had done as an experiment before transplanting is I actually made what's called a fertilizer tea. So what I did is I took some fertilizer and I also took some magnesium sulfate, which is Epsom salt, and I mixed it in with some water, probably a full gallon of water, and I let it sit overnight for 24 hours, and I actually watered them with the magnesium sulfate and this fertilizer tea. And some of the plants responded really well to this. Some of them started to have new growth that's completely 100% green. Others did not respond at all. So that's why I'm going to be transplanting everything into bigger containers. This will be a similar process as what we did with the other tomato plants. So we're going to go ahead and fill these containers with some soil. I'm reusing the containers from the cherry tomatoes. And then in this container I have 2 plants, so what I want to do is I want to be very gentle. I'm going to loosen this soil. Now this soil is already really loose, which tells me that the roots are not bound and that these plants have a lot of ways to grow yet. Now I don't necessarily want to keep this coconut core, so I'm just going to loosen this up over here. So when you have 2 plants in the same pot, you just want to gently pull them apart. Like I said, these roots aren't very established yet, so it was really easy for me to pull these apart, and that should not be the case. These should be a lot bigger by now. So I'm going to go ahead and make a small hole here, and I'm going to grow a little tiny sprinkle of fertilizer in there. And you just want to make sure all of the roots are in there. Cover it up. Firmly push down on the soil. And give it a nice water. So we'll have to see if these plants improve. I'm not going to give up on them. They're still alive, so we will keep trying. I'm not going to bore you with an hour-long time lapse of me planting these things, so I want to thank you for watching. I hope that you learned something, and I'll have to give you an update on how the tomatoes are, hopefully when they're ready to go in the garden.